Hi, I'm a recovering addict named Steve. This is the On Life's Terms adaptation of the Narcotics Anonymous book sponsorship. Note to the listener: this book frequently changes from narrative to first person quotes. When the focus changes, you will hear this tone. This installment is Chapter 1, Part 3. Someone who believes in me and wants to help me in my recovery. A sponsor can be a mentor, a teacher, and a role model, not only to those new to the program, but to members with substantial clean time as well. Sponsorship can help us to learn healthy ways of living and can offer a sanctuary of support and empathy during times of grief, loss, and other life trials. A sponsor can also join us as we experience those joyful times that celebrate our life in recovery. Other members look to a sponsor strictly for knowledge about and guidance through the 12 steps, and for some members, the 12 traditions and the 12 concepts. No matter how we perceive a sponsor, we can all agree on one thing. A sponsor is someone who believes in me and wants to help me in my recovery. For me, my sponsor was the first person who I allowed to see the real me. She is my memory bank of experiences and details and patterns. It is important to have a sounding board, someone to bounce ideas and possible changes off of. Two hearts are always better than one. My sponsor is someone I trust, not just respect, though that's important too. My sponsor is someone I can be honest with and to whom I can reveal myself. Some of the things I learned about myself shock me, and I need to be able to share those things and to be comfortable enough to allow my sponsor to reveal things to me. I was in early recovery when my father died. I adored him. He meant the world to me. I was devastated and felt powerless. I came face to face with such pain and anger. These emotions became living entities to me, and I felt they would consume me. But my sponsor listened to me at all hours of the day. It is not that she said anything profound. It was more about her just being there and listening and loving me through it all. As we start to live without the use of drugs, we see that sponsorship can offer a kinship and spiritual connection with other addicts who may have experienced many of the same emotions and circumstances that we have. The bond that often forms between a sponsor and a sponsee can be a powerful one, as each member is able to share and identify with many of the same feelings. In my recovery, I have experienced a realm of feelings that I refuse to acknowledge. These feelings made me think I was unimportant. I didn't value myself, and as a result, I didn't have the ability to set limits. My sponsor allowed me to express myself honestly, and I learned it was okay not to know some things and to ask for help. Through the love and guidance of my sponsor, I got an idea of who I was, what kind of people I wanted in my life, and what I needed to achieve that. The initial attraction for me was not having to do it all myself. What I've learned from my sponsor is priceless, and the real beauty is in giving and sharing these experiences with my sponsees. My sponsee and I went through divorces at the same time. I had sponsored her for years, and our relationship had truly become a two-way street. That time was one of the most difficult periods of my recovery, but talking with her and listening helped me take the edge off. We vented to each other, cried together, and shared insights and tools with each other. Some members work professionally as therapists, lawyers, or as doctors, for example. However, the responsibility of a sponsor is not that of a professional, but simply an addict sharing from the heart and carrying the message. We choose a sponsor based on his or her NA recovery. Sometimes we may need to seek professional help in one form or another. We can discuss this need with our sponsor, but we should not expect our sponsor or sponsee to provide us with professional service of any kind. We need to be aware that a sponsor is an addict doing selfless service and not a professional doing a job. This stems from our spiritual foundation of anonymity, which makes us all equals in NA. Members of the fellowship where I live are aware that I work in the drug rehabilitation field and sometimes approach me to fast-track their admission to treatment. I make my boundaries clear. I tell them that I am in NA for my recovery. I might be willing to sponsor them, but I don't get involved in outside issues or special favors. This keeps our relationship in the fellowship equal and less open to complications. The benefits being sponsored have served me well in this program. For a long time, I was able to stay clean, making meetings, get involved in service, as well as take part in all sorts of functions. But I still felt lonely and empty inside. When I became willing to allow a sponsor to come into my life and nurtured that relationship as a part of my process, I began to grow and change, and my recovery took off. I think that wordless language of empathy that the basic text talks about helped me more than any doctor or therapist could have at that point in my life. It is important for sponsors to maintain their own identity and be responsible for their own recovery, not their sponsees, and vice versa. We want to ensure that we are carrying the message of recovery to our sponsees and not the mess of our disease. We often say you can only keep what you have by giving it away, but it is also true that we must have our recovery to give it away. Sponsorship can be an opportunity to practice the principles of the NA program in all our affairs, where each person, ideally, is receiving the best each has to offer. If I don't take care of my disease in my own recovery, then I'm passing my disease along to my sponsees. When I first went back to school, I cut back on my meetings because I felt I was too busy. I wasn't calling my sponsor very much or reading the texts. I was sponsoring several people, and whenever one of them would call, I would feel so burdened by them. At the end of the call, I would feel used up and stressed. Funny how when I started taking the time to work on my program, I felt less harried and looked forward to a study break to talk to a sponsee. The 12th step in action. Sponsorship often becomes part of the selfless service we hear about in the 12th step. Many members believe sponsorship is an opportunity to carry our message of recovery and to practice the principles found in the NA program. Part of this involves a commitment to work with each other to provide a sense of acceptance through empathy and understanding. There is for me no pressure like that of having an avid sponsee who works the steps with a passion. I feel bound to do my best to work the program to the fullest. I feel empathy for my sponsees when they ask so many questions and work so hard to learn and understand the NA way. I also feel compassion, for I was in their shoes at some point in my recovery. My sponsor creates an attraction for me. The path he took before me brought him to this centered space. He is serene, solid, and spiritually balanced. He has a calm, simple life, a strong program, and he consciously works the 12 steps. Simply put, I want what he has to offer. Getting and working with a sponsor can often ease the confusion we may experience when getting clean. After spending years in active addiction, many of us are not really sure who we are or how to become responsible members of society. A sponsor can provide a more objective and well-rounded perspective on our reality. Through sharing their experience, strength, and hope, sponsors can guide sponsees in building a foundation in recovery. My sponsor gives me a whole other perspective on my life, since my baggage tends to influence my perspective and perception. Early in my recovery, I had a bit of a reputation because of my behavior with men. Finally, when I had a few years clean, my sponsor sort of let me have it. I was telling her how much I loved bad boys, and she just shook her head and told me that her dream for me was that over time, as a result of working the steps with her, I would learn to stop making such bad choices, that I would come to appreciate the true love and support I could have in a relationship. That conversation was a turning point, and as a result, I went out with a nice man I wouldn't have considered dating before. We've been together 16 years now. In addition to helping to see ourselves more clearly, working with a sponsor can begin to impress upon us the importance of service. Some sponsors encourage those they sponsor to become formally involved in the NA service structure. Others simply act as a power of example, giving of themselves and expecting nothing in return. Sponsorship is a kind of selfless service, and in this relationship, we can start to learn how to express our gratitude through service, whether formal or informal. My first sponsor is the most wonderful, nurturing, loving soul who knew exactly when to hold my hand and when to let go. She gave me the foundation of my understanding of NA and the steps and traditions and concepts. She instilled in me the importance of giving back to NA via service work. Even though she no longer sponsors me, she is still a very active part of my recovery and a close, dear friend. My first sponsor wasn't very involved in the service structure, but he never missed an opportunity to encourage me to be of service. I remember when I was very new in the program, I went to this meeting and a guy picked up a white chip. After the meeting, my sponsor said to me, "Did you give that guy your phone number?" I didn't really think I had anything to give, but he let me know that it's never too early to start giving it away. Now, I do a lot of formal service work, but I learned so much from that first sponsor about the spirit of service and how it doesn't have to do with a particular position, but with a willingness to give. Sponsorship, as with many aspects of our life in recovery, is a relationship in progress. A sponsor is simply an addict in recovery, not an infallible expert. While some of us may feel at times that we could not stay clean without the guidance and support of our sponsor, we need to keep in mind that sponsors are not higher powers, but fellow addicts sharing their experience, strength, and hope. My sponsor is a human being who has joys and sorrows, needs and dreams, strengths and weaknesses, and character defects that he struggles with. For me, this is a great lesson to see another person struggle at times as I do and still have faith and trust and hope and work so hard to stay grounded in the solution and not the problem. I've had sponsees through most of my recovery. It is a wonderful gift to be able to help others and open myself up so that others can see who I am. Often when I'm lost in myself, my sponsees pull me around. They teach me about trust and commitment. Working the steps with them is no more than working the steps myself. Often my sponsees have more answers than I have. It is a lesson in humility and service. Often their problems are mine, and I have learned their solutions are mine too. I have learned through them that I am not the only person who has a hard time or the only one who is fearful and lost. The simplicity of the sponsor-sponsee relationship, that of one addict helping another, can help both members get in touch with their own humanness while going through life's struggles together. The message of recovery does not only come from the sponsor. In many cases, the sponsee shares insight and wisdom. This is part of the two-way street, the give and take that makes the 12 steps such a necessary part of the recovery process. Carrying the message to other addicts and giving away what was so freely given to us is not only an honor and a privilege, it is vital to enhancing our spiritual condition. The importance of sponsoring others is that it helps me become more involved with and knowledgeable about the 12 steps and 12 traditions. I have to be working my own personal recovery in order to give back to my sponsees. Recently, I had a sponsee get honest about something that I had not been honest about. Now, how valuable is that to my program? That's gold. As far as being a sponsor, I try to incorporate the things I learned about how I like to be sponsored into how I sponsor. When my sponsees share a step with me, I share my own step experience as well. One of the greatest gifts in recovery is finding the similarities in our journeys and learning about our differences. I think that the most valuable lesson sponsorship gives me is the opportunity to practice unconditional love. It deepens my appreciation for what has been given to me. For me, sponsorship together with meetings is the most important thing in NA. It's a must. Sponsorship teaches me humility. I need to be humble to call my sponsor and ask for help. I also must be humble toward my own sponsees by being there and listening to them without being judgmental or controlling. My sponsor and sponsees have taught me about the importance of having relationships with other women and how to be loved by my own gender. For that, I have learned how to love myself. We often hear it said that Narcotics Anonymous is a we program, and sponsorship, for many of us, lies at the center of community and mutual support. NA works because of the help we can give each other, and the best help an addict can get in recovery comes from another recovering addict. We who spent so much of our lives taking, concerned only for ourselves, awaken to a world of possibility when we open ourselves to the gifts sponsorship can give us. This is the end of Chapter 1, Part 3. Sponsorship is continued in Chapter 2, Part 1. I'm a recovering addict named Steve. You can download a full PDF version of sponsorship at this address or by following the link in the description below. To purchase a copy of this book or for free literature and to find a meeting in your area or online, go to na.org. That again is na.org. Please help me to carry the message to the addict who still suffers by liking or commenting on this video and subscribing to this channel. Even more importantly, please share this video with other addicts that we may reach as many as possible. Any feedback or suggestions you might have would be greatly appreciated. I can be reached at onlifestermsvid@gmail.com. Again, that is onlifestermsvid@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, carrying the message, and keeping the promise alive.